Are you struggling with feeling stuck in your life journey? Does it seem as if the challenges or conflicts that you keep experiencing are on repeat? Healing through feeling could be your new way through to a more satisfying life. Now, here is the host of the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide, Sharyn Nichols.
Welcome to today's show. I'm Sharyn Nichols, and you are listening to the Feel to Heal show on the wonderful, the incredible Inspired Choices Network. I am so grateful to be here because this topic, boundaries, is what I'm going to be discussing today. Boy, do I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about it in all good ways. I believe we are a boundary just in and of ourselves, just sitting, standing, being. We have this energetic aura that comes around us, I believe. And so therefore setting the boundary as to whose energy we're going to allow in, and then whose energy we are not, is really what we use our words for. So before I go even deeper into the topic, we have to start with a meditation. And this one is really incredible because this is a guided meditation for helping to build healthy and purposeful boundaries. I found this wonderful meditation on the internet that I was given permission to record my own version. So I'm really excited about this because it's so in alignment with where I want to be going with today's show. And then also just in general, the opening and the allowing and the knowing that we all do have for ourselves, and defining our own physical and energetic space. So when you make a healthy boundary for yourself, then things that sometimes have hurt you in the past will not be able to reach you anymore. So boundaries us give to us, as well as providing some life essentials. So let's begin by receiving 5 breaths together, just in and out. You can hold, you cannot, you can do the 4x4, whatever you want. I'm going to just breathe in and out. So please breathe with me. So allowing your eyes to close if you haven't already. And as you're feeling the weight of your body and how it presses down, make sure that your spine is completely straight and that your posture exudes confidence. With your eyes closed, it's allowing your ability to focus inward even more. So continue to breathe easily and gently so you can feel safe and relaxed, and allowing my voice to guide you like a beacon of light through the darkness. Now imagine that you are sitting or standing in a beautiful, lush green grass is all around you. And then there's a small house, ever so often slightly in the distance, that you have built by hand. This house represents you and all the work that you put into yourself, and the grass represents the world outside of you. So walk towards the house, open the door, and now stand inside. Looking around the house and now turning towards a window, looking out. So you decide that it would be good to plant some trees and some shrubs so that the plants will aid you in protecting you from harm, and they also benefit the world. For example, a raspberry bush is very spiky and dense, yet it gives a bounty of fruit for us to enjoy and be nourished by. So if you plant many of them in a row, you will protect you as well as a tall electric fence. But this plant also gives, as it also gives, it serves two purposes. The raspberry bushes protect you, and they also feed you. Setting a boundary that is a win-win. So now let's plant some trees. And if you plant tall trees, they will protect you from the harsh winds if placed in a way that is good through all of the seasons. Tall trees supply us with the most oxygen. Therefore, they are giving while protecting. Trees also serve many purposes here. You look at these beautiful life forces that you are planting on your land, and now you notice that they need a water source. So stepping out of your house and onto your land, you will find the lowest lying area and begin digging down and around, making the shape of a small pond. As you step back from the circle of dirt you've created, you know that only a few heavy rains need to pour down, and it will begin to fill and turn into a natural source of water. This pond also serves many purposes on your land. It not only provides you and the wildlife with water, but it also now gives you somewhere to go to meditate and reflect on the good things in your life and the good things that you do for others. Receiving a breath. As you now get closer, walking back to your house, you see a need for some vegetables and fruits. So you create an incredible garden that is easy for you to access and to water when necessary. You plant all kinds of fruits you like and all kinds of the vegetables that you need. Your garden flourishes and provides. All this garden needs from you is to be tended to. Now looking around, you see you need an orchid. So you strategically plant many apple trees and other fruiting trees right next to the protected area by the big tall trees and a little closer to the pond so that they can drink. This orchid supplies you with the most delicious apples you've ever tasted, and their nutrients are off the charts. You look around at your plot of land and you are so proud. Not only do all these plants protect you and your home, but they give to you and the community around them. Make sure you work on the garden within you and put up proper barriers that, if planted well and with love and care, they will also give. Notice that you are protected and safe and allowed to lead a happy life. And lastly, look around again at the home that you built, the orchid, the garden, the water source that you built with your hands, and make any necessary changes. Notice that you are an excellent builder. Receive a breath. Another one. And when you are ready, allow your eyes to open, keeping in your mind's eye at any time the incredible boundaries of the home that you built by your hand, and then all of the surrounding areas that are nurturing and beautiful and protecting, all at the exact same time in the exact same moment. I hope that you created some really wonderful spaces for yourself inwardly, and then now knowing that you can put up a garden and it doesn't have to be a wall. Boundaries do not need to be walls. They can be fluid. They can have openings, natural openings within the trees, within the bushes, within yourself. I was just having a conversation about how boundaries can be looked at as walls and that they're impenetrable. Yes, I think that's the word. And that they don't need to be. Boundaries can be solid and fluid all at the exact same time. So when we come back from break, I'm going to take a deeper dive into boundaries, what it actually means, how to set them, and what you can do for yourself so you can feel good about setting a boundary. So see you back in a couple of minutes, and thank you for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be back in a couple of moments.
At different times on our life journey, we can feel stuck and struggle with seeing our way through. What if the answer to the struggle is just to go deeper than the surface? By tuning in to Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols, you'll receive insight and guidance on exploring your feelings in order to heal yourself. Are you ready to create a more satisfying, peaceful, and successful life? Listen for the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, You can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols Show with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also ask questions or comments by email by sending to Sharyn Nichols at feeltoheal.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, and thank you for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the Inspired Choices Network. And today's topic is boundaries. I just did a meditation prior to the break on how to create boundaries for yourself within your own mind. And then how, once you've set them for yourself and you're solid and straight and confident, because we sat up straight the entire time. I usually sit back and relax, although this one was sitting up straight because it's about anchoring in yourself and your own confidence. When I was thinking about boundaries, I realized that there's so much negative connotation to setting a boundary, because most of the time we feel as though in terms of setting a boundary, we need to say no. Like, where's that hard stop? And so saying no can also be positive, although so much of us are consistently on the defensive. And so when we hear no, we take it personally. The no usually is not about us. The no is usually about the other and what they need. And so it's about discerning for yourself where the fluidity is, where that wiggle room is. For the longest time, I was having the conversation because I didn't like it when somebody would say no to me. Because if I asked somebody to do something for me, then yes was the only answer. And I kept hearing by one of my mentors, she kept saying to me, Sharyn, if yes is an answer, no also has to be able to be one of them too. Yes cannot be the only one. And it took me for the longest time to actually get what that really meant. And now I do. I have to be okay with a no. And it's not about me. And so 90% of the time when I say no, it's not about the other. I mean, because of course I'm human. Sometimes I just say no because I want to say no, because I just don't feel like doing something. Although that's not very often. Usually I'm now really good with setting the boundary. I'm now really good. And it took me a long time to get here. So let's go into boundaries. Let's talk about them. So what are boundaries? The literal definition is a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. Like I said, for me, I think personal boundaries need to be fluid. We need to be able to go with them, because something that you feel today or a boundary that you set today can certainly change, because we do change. That's what we do as human beings. We're constantly ever growing and changing and seeing life through a different lens, because each day we get a day older. So each day we become just a little bit more mature. Or when we look back after we've taken those baby steps, we've gained so much perspective that now perhaps we do need to set a new boundary for ourselves. So when I was looking to define personal boundaries, there were a few more definitions that I found. A personal boundary is the limits and the rules we set for ourselves within relationships. A boundary is a limit or space between you and the other person. So a clear space as to where you begin and when the other person ends. That's literally the space. And so, as I was thinking about boundaries, those of us who have extra weight on us, it's about setting a boundary. You immediately are stating a fact unconsciously that you don't want anybody close to you. It's just one aspect of it. There's multiple reasons. This is just one, because the first thing that people do see is your appearance, and we're absolutely always judging. I've talked about this many times before. I'm not putting anyone down. I had to look at why I was carrying around extra weight on myself. And I recently lost 15 pounds because I do realize that the extra weight set a boundary for me, because I was feeling like crap and I didn't like who I was and how I felt I looked, and that I was constantly being judged, again, all in my head. I needed to do something about it for me. And so I do feel better. I feel better because I accomplished something. I also feel better because now I am more open. And so therefore, for me, the boundaries have been more fluid. Because the purpose of setting a healthy boundary is, of course, to protect and take good care of you. So we all do need boundaries, because there are limits and needs that we need to express to ourselves first, and then to others, in order for us to feel safe and healthy and comfortable. So first and foremost, it has to come within. It has to come from within, excuse me. You need to set the healthy boundary with yourself first. And quite often we don't. Quite often we say yes when we don't want to, because we're so concerned about how other people are feeling and how we need to take care of them. So we put ourselves first. We put the others first. We don't put ourselves first, because again, that goes into the whole conversation about being selfish. And yes, it may be selfish in terms of setting a boundary for yourself, I'm going to come back to that, because I want to keep going and talking about boundaries and why they are really important. And the most important part of setting a boundary is in the communication. So if you don't have established communication in a relationship, it's going to be very difficult to set a boundary. So it's really important to start a dialogue and letting someone know what is important to you. And yes, you can give a little bit of the why, because I feel as though our brains need to know why, although it's about discerning for you what's really truly important. Do you need to know why this person is asking to set this boundary? Because you don't agree with it, or because you want to honor it? And so if you don't agree with it, then will you be able to honor it? Putting your needs first does include thinking about yourself, but there's nothing unhealthy about that. It's okay. You're not being rude. It is truly about creating a win-win situation. Always, I'm going to keep coming back to that. So it is about compromise. And then, I need to look up the the full word and go back to where it even came from, because to me, it's a co-promise. I know there's an M in there, but compromise is a co-promise to me, meaning that you're creating something together with regards to setting a boundary together, one that you both can keep. It's okay to agree to disagree, although it's still about having respect for yourself first. So if you can, in order to respect somebody else's boundaries, you have to respect yourself. So let's talk about the 5 types of personal boundaries. I'm sorry, the 5 types of personal boundaries. Yes, apologies. There's physical, there's the time energy boundary, there's sexual, there's emotional, and there's material. So physical boundaries involve your willingness to engage with physical contact. Some people don't like to be touched. Don't touch them. Ask for permission. So the earlier that you can set the boundary, the better. So ask if you can hug someone. I'm a hugger. So when I first meet somebody, I ask them, is it okay if I give you a hug? Most of the time they say yes. Sometimes they say no. And I'm okay either way. And I can also always tell those who say yes, even though they want to say no. And because I'm a pretty good read, I will say, are you sure? And then usually because I've now given them permission to keep the boundary and set the boundary, they're usually okay. We're both okay with it, because I'm not about taking it personally. And a lot of people still are. And I used to be. It used to hurt my feelings when I would want a hug, or I'd want to give someone a hug and they would be like, no. It's funny. I remember there was an acquaintance who refused to take pictures. She refused to be in any photos. And I know I had such judgment about that. I was like, doesn't she want to document this moment in time? How can she not want to document this moment in time? Does she not want to be remembered? How can I remember years from now what she looks like? And I went through all that, and I had such judgment around it. And now I totally get it. She didn't like how she looked. She did not want to be in a concrete moment of time. She didn't want to have to remember how she was thinking and feeling. Anyway, now when someone says to me that they don't want to be in a picture, I respect that. It's all okay. We all have a right to say what we are comfortable with and what we are not comfortable with. So there are emotional boundaries, and these are the limits or lack thereof that we place on sharing intimate feelings with others. It also encompasses the emotional energy that we can put into certain relationships, like saying something like, I just really don't have the bandwidth to discuss this. But there's that boundary definer, but maybe we can discuss it some other time. So how to reframe that would be, I hear you. I get that this is important to you, and I need about 10, 15 minutes, and then please come back and let's discuss. I just need a moment to compose myself or shift this feeling that I am having right now. So when we come back from break, we're going to continue to talk about the specific boundaries that we have as human beings. And I thank you for listening to myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the Feel to Heal show. And today's subject is boundaries on the Inspired Choices Network. See you back in a couple of moments.
At different times on our life journey, we can feel stuck and struggle with seeing our way through. What if the answer to the struggle is just to go deeper than the surface? By tuning in to Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols, you'll receive insight and guidance on exploring your feelings in order to heal yourself. Are you ready to create a more satisfying, peaceful, and successful life? Listen for the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also ask questions or comments by email by sending to Sharyn Nichols at feeltoheal.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, and thank you for listening to the Feel to Heal show. And today's topic is boundaries, and I am Sharyn Nichols, and you are listening to the Inspired Choices Network. Sexual boundaries is another boundary that we all need to consistently set, and it encompasses your comfort and consent with sexual contact. Absolutely. Although it goes beyond unwanted sexual contact and applies to your relationships with long-term monogamous partners as well. So being able to confidently state, that's not my thing, or I don't do that, can help send a clear message, especially early on. And when it comes to the sexual boundaries, you don't need to say why or why not. There is that hard stop. No, I don't do that. That's not my thing. There does not need to be an explanation. You do not need to defend this boundary, this physical body boundary. Time boundaries. They involve how you want to spend your time and the amount of time you'll allocate to various endeavors, like attending a birthday party of an acquaintance that you might not really want to go to. So you say, perhaps, I can come by, but only for a couple of hours. That is an effective way to communicate your time boundary. I used to be so open and so giving and just always said yes, and I used to try and get so many things done in the course of 15 minutes. And I would have so many errands on my to-do list. I would try and, fit in a conversation or have a lunch and a dinner and then still work and take care of my children. And so I was not good with setting my time boundaries at all. So now I take time. I take time for myself. I honor what I need. And, Mondays, I have the show. So Mondays used to be a very busy day for me, where I would Monday morning hit the ground running with all the things that I need to take care of for the week. And actually now that's Tuesday morning. I've sort of pushed things off because I really do devote the whole day to getting myself anchored, because as I've mentioned before, I spend a whole week with the energy of the topic, and I really want to be able to be 100% present. So if I'm thinking about my to-do list, then I'm not here. So that's about me. That's me setting a boundary with myself. So another boundary, the last one out of the 5, is material boundaries. And it's about setting limits on what you will share and with whom. So this could be lending a car to someone in your family, or fear that they won't respect your possessions. So depending on your relationship, you can decide whether to offer an explanation for why you aren't loaning out your things. But be careful not to fall into a debate. Your things are your things. And I know, and I say that confidently, that we are all about not wanting to hurt somebody's feelings intentionally. That's the part I know. We're not intentionally looking to hurt someone's feelings, although we need to set a boundary. You know, my daughters in the past have asked to borrow certain items of jewelry that are mine, and I have 1 or 2 things that I just won't let them borrow because I am afraid that they will lose them, not on purpose, or not that they'll even break them. It's just that they will lose them. And so those for that material thing, for some material things, it's about the loss. I do believe that, yes, if someone borrows my car and they total it, well, some possessions can be replaced. Some material things can absolutely be replaced. But that's a whole other conversation for another day. I'm just going to take a breath. This has so been working me in such an incredibly wonderful way. I wasn't really sure what I usually by the start of the show have an idea of what I'm going to talk about in terms of have some examples of boundaries, and it's not that I couldn't come up with any. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know where I was going to go. And so I knew that I needed to set a boundary within myself. See, it's the micro, it's the layers. You just keep peeling them away. And it was then about bringing it back in for myself. So what exactly does a healthy boundary look like? Because as we know, healthy boundaries are the key part to our physical, mental, and emotional health. And they look different for each person, each relationship, and they change, and they may change over time. And healthy boundaries are also bi-directional. They involve communicating your wants and needs in a relationship while also respecting the wants and needs of the other person. As I stated before, this is just a little bit more succinct. It's about finding that line for yourself as to how to set yours and hold your line, and then also respect and honor someone else's. That's where the compromise comes in. So an example of what a healthy boundary may look like could be valuing, like I said, your personal boundaries and not compromising them for someone else. It's about that line. Also, saying no and then accepting when others say no. I know I'm repeating myself, although this is all about setting a boundary. So knowing who you are and what you want and communicating that to others is really important in terms of setting a healthy boundary. I get that's what they look like. And so I hear that it's sort of a catch-22, then in order to have a healthy boundary, You need to set the healthy boundary. And it's not always so easy to do that. Another example of what a healthy boundary can look like is engaging in appropriate sharing. What does that look like? I'm sure we've all been around the people who trauma share. Trauma sharing is an unhealthy boundary. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Whoops. Sorry. My notes. Another healthy boundary. Sorry, I'm having a moment here with myself in terms of where do I want to go? What boundary do I want to set? Another healthy boundary is not letting others define you or your own sense of self-worth. Knowing what your needs and feelings are is just as important as knowing the needs and feelings of others. Are we seeing the pattern here? It's about you identifying what you want and need and are feeling, and then about sharing it appropriately, concisely, and succinctly, which I know in theory sounds great. Don't you wish that you could do that all the time? I sure do, because then what ends up happening is that you show up as a human being, and so does the other person. So it's really, truly about not taking everything personally and not making assumptions. Always doing your best and then being impeccable with your word. For the 4 agreements that I've been using and running, because these are the major tenets that I have been using for my life. So it's respecting others' values and beliefs and opinions while knowing that you also do not have to compromise yours. So regardless of what type of boundary you're talking about, it's important to keep in mind that healthy boundaries are all about you and the other person in the relationship. Their wants and needs and limits are also being honored. They take effort and they're not always easy. And like I said, sometimes it can be really hard to say yes, and can also be really hard to say no. And so it's about you honoring yourself first and then letting the other know that you respect them and their boundaries, and that perhaps you're even having a hard time with it because you do respect them. And it's just this moment in time, this present moment in time is just not in alignment for you as to where you feel you need to be in the moment. And because we are fluid beings, it continues to grow and change. So when we come back from break, we're going to talk about unhealthy boundaries. And doesn't that sound exciting? So thank you so much for listening to myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the incredible Feel to Heal show on the Inspired Choices Network. And I look forward to talking about unhealthy boundaries when we come back from break. See you back in a couple of moments.
At different times on our life journey, we can feel stuck and struggle with seeing our way through. What if the answer to the struggle is just to go deeper than the surface? By tuning in to Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols, you'll receive insight and guidance on exploring your feelings in order to heal yourself. Are you ready to create a more satisfying, peaceful, and successful life? Listen for the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols Show with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also ask questions or comments by email by sending to Sharyn Nichols at feeltoheal.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the Inspired Choices Network. I was talking about healthy boundaries and what they look like just before the break. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about unhealthy boundaries and what they look like. It's really simple. They're the opposite. An unhealthy boundary disregards what the other's values, wants, and needs and limits are. It's about running roughshod over them. And so unhealthy boundaries can also lead to potentially abusive dating and romantic relationships. And then it also increases the chances of creating more instability and for yourself and more reasons to be angry or frustrated because you are allowing yourself to be the victim of another because you are not setting the boundary within yourself. So disrespecting the values and beliefs and opinions of others when you do not agree with them, saying no or not accepting when others say no to you, feeling like you are responsible, and this is a big one, for fixing or saving others. You aren't. It's their job to fix themselves. It's their job for them to figure out and discern for themselves where the boundary needs to be. You certainly can help. Although, let's see, do we really respect the other when they say no and then go and do it? They say no, they're not going to do something, and then they give in and do it. I mean, really, that's sort of where the abuse comes in, because then it is so easy to be taken advantage of because you are not solid. And believe me, I'm so familiar with that one. There'd be so many times where I would say no to something and then I would go ahead and do it because I was afraid of being judged. I did not want to be liked. I thought that saying yes was, oh my gosh, the word is failing me. I wanted to be a part of the group. Like I wanted to be a part of the team. And I didn't want to be a yes man, but I wanted to say yes because I just wanted everybody to like me. And then ultimately what it ended up doing was it diminished my credibility. The people didn't end up liking me because I wasn't setting a boundary. There was no respect. I didn't respect myself. And because I didn't respect myself, it was so difficult for others to respect me. So in my research on boundaries, therapist Elizabeth Earnshaw wrote about the 6 things people get wrong about setting boundaries. Because I think that this is important. Because boundaries have become a buzzword, which is why one of the reasons why I chose this topic, that comes with a lot of connotations, because maintaining healthy boundaries is absolutely necessary for having a healthy relationships through life, although there sometimes can be confusion as to what that actually looks like. So it's not just about the things you don't want. It's also about what you do want. I think so much time is focused on the negativity of what we don't want, that we don't often state what we do want. And I have found in my relationship that when I ask for what I do want, it's usually met with great fortitude. Like my current boyfriend, it's now a joke between us. He so likes when I ask for what I want, because then it's about creating a win-win. He usually can give it to me because, again, I don't think, again, that's me. Don't think that my wants are so crazy. And I usually am very specific and usually try and come up with something that would be creating a win-win. So being afraid to not speak up. Is that correct? Yeah. Being afraid to not speak up and share my wants is really something that is incredibly healthy. Sorry, I've now gone off in my mind in so many different tangents in so many different ways. So rather than saying, I don't want to do that or I can't do that, it's about saying, I need this or I have to. It's just about shifting the negative to the positive, because so often we get put off. So you can be kind and compassionate while still setting a boundary. And boundaries aren't meant to keep people out. They're meant to make it easier for people to get close. So, because without boundaries, we can have a sense of fake intimacy in which we feel as close to the other person when in reality we are just too enmeshed and we're codependent. But that's a whole other topic for another show, because we all have boundaries. Boundaries let us know when something has gone too far and is threatening our well-being in some capacity. So every person on this planet has boundaries. Every animal, every tree, every shrub, every piece of fruit, all has boundaries. And that's okay. They don't always need to be tested and challenged. Like, you just know, this tree has a boundary. It's not going to move. It's there. So you get to move around it. You don't want to challenge it by running into it. So for those of us struggling to be in touch with our boundaries or to speak them, the first step is to learning to be aware of what your body is telling you it needs and its limits. Answers are not usually in your head. The answers are in your body. So boundaries, here's my final thing on boundaries. Boundaries aren't just something that you have with other people. Boundaries are something that you actually have to start and set with yourself. Because as I've been saying, at the core of boundary setting is the ability to notice what you need and then to make sure that it happens for yourself, so that you can look at setting boundaries around you in a way that are healthy. So in ways for you to engage your health, your money, your time, your things, and all of your relationships. So next month, tomorrow is the first day of February, and I'm so excited because I am going to be starting my first series on love. And so next week's show, it's going to be all through the month of February, and next week's show is loving yourself, the most important love affair you will ever have. And then it's finding love, and then losing love, and staying in love. All love. Thank you so much for listening to the Inspired Choices Network.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show. Sharyn Nichols will return next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, give up the struggle, feel all you need to feel, and make this week your best one yet.